I would say the Holy Spirit, Her Majesty the Holy Spirit, to begin with. And then I owe a lot to Professor David Dauber, as I said, Regius Professor of Law at Oxford, because I wrote a paper on 1 Corinthians 7, and my theology professor at King's College said that he really didn't feel he was sufficiently versed in the Jewish background. And would I not like to go to Professor David Dauber and visit him at Oxford? I was very shy, but he just received me in such a courteous way and gave me tea at the Mitre Inn and took me round All Souls College. And then he looked through the paper and he made 2 alterations and added an extra reference. And this paper had been rejected by a certain journal. And I thought nothing about it because I was so junior in theology. But he said, oh no, this should be published in a good journal. It won't take much space, it's short. So he sent it to a friend of his in America. And he sent it back to the same journal and it was accepted. Now, there was no prejudice whatsoever. But I always tell that to my students as a way to encourage them not to take any rejection personally. So I would say Professor David Dauber and, of course, Professor Schlitzer, who was our chairperson. He was very, very supportive when I came as the first woman theologian. There was one layman. He was in canon law, but I think he left theology and took up another profession later on, because it wasn't a very promising field with 4 children to support. So I would say really just the people whom I have met from time to time. Another priest, Father Schoenberg, Martin Schoenberg, who was extremely good. And that's another funny story. I wanted to join the Catholic Biblical Association, and I was the first woman to apply, though they gave an honorary membership to Mother Catherine Sullivan, because she'd done so much for teaching theology and Bible today. So as I understand it, it was an honorary membership. And they couldn't accept my membership, but I put down my name to read a research report. And the program committee said, oh, we can't have a woman reading a paper. So Father Martin Schoenberg, who was in the chair, said, no, as chair, I decide that this woman will have just as much chance as the men. So I read my paper, and then later it was told me that half the society boycotted the paper and went into town. But when they got back, people said, oh, it wasn't a pietistic paper, it was an academic paper, and it was later published. So again, I can laugh over this, and I think it's understandable, particularly if they've been trained in Rome and only seen men. So I don't feel any anger about it, and it wasn't a personal thing, because they hadn't seen me. I was also criticized for wearing a dress without sleeves.